level, and that is the Craft Beverage Modernization and Tax Reform Act of 2017. This particular act is basically the signature thing of the administration, where they would like to revamp and redo the taxation code in the United States. In all bills like this, they tend to bring in other little things along the way, and the one that they're bringing in is the craft beer or craft beverage modernization piece to it. And what that basically means is that they are looking to lower, actually, taxes on alcohol, especially on those that are craft brewers. In the United States, or certainly in Ohio, craft manufacturing has been separated out from retailing, and there's a wholesaling component that happens in the state of Ohio. So you have a three-tiered system. This way, with this particular legislation, what it'll do is move the parameters of manufacturing basically into retailing, so that they'll be able to sell directly and not have to live by some of the retail rules that are in place for the retail establishment. It will then therefore lower excise taxes. They're looking and estimating through this process that the government itself could lose up to $321 million annually in excise tax revenue. And we know that it costs a lot of harm to the budget of the United States, when about $249 billion annually is spent on the harm caused by excess alcohol consumption. And we know that there's about 88,000 deaths every year attributed to alcohol, whether it be from alcohol overdosing on alcohol, whether it be from car crashes, from industrial accidents, to just problems with health problems that have been created because of alcohol use. So there is a related one. Well, first of all, let me go back to this. By the end of this week, that bill, we don't exactly know what it's going to look like. It's in the conference committee now, which means it has passed, a version of this bill has passed the House, and a version has passed the Senate. They're coming together in a conference to hammer out the differences between the two. Their first meeting, I think, will be scheduled, as I understand it, by the end of this week, and the Senate may be actually voting on it at the beginning of next week on Monday, if it goes according to what they're hoping. And then once the Senate passes it, then it'll go to the House to be passed, and at that point, it will be confirmed in both chambers of the Congress, and then we'll be looking to go to the President. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to be hammered out. We don't know if this will stay in it. We don't know what it looks like. But I just bring it to your attention because it's an important thing. And we know this, when prices go down in alcohol, then access and availability and use goes up. So it's something that we need to keep a look at. The state of Ohio introduced a bill very similar to the one at the federal level. It was referred to a committee, the Governmental Accountability and Oversight, at the end of November. And no action and no things have been set for hearings on it at this point. But again, it mirrors the federal legislation, so we'll be keeping our eye on it. Our next thing that I'd like to bring attention to is House Bill 296. That one is causing for penalties for certain drug offenses when they're committed in vicinities around recovery and treatment locations. They're indicating that so many times drug dealers will go to those type of locations because people in recovery and in treatment are easy targets for them. So this particular legislation just puts a crackdown on those individuals that prey on the recovering person that has a disorder, and the prosecutors and the treatment centers and the law enforcement, all of those individual entities have testified in favor of this bill. And basically what it does in legislation, when you look through it, it's already types of things like this are already in place for schools and juvenile facilities. So it's just adding that on with the school pieces of it, so that it goes continually through the bill, and it will be a similar thing where it's about 1,000 feet away. You don't want to see any kind of activity like this at all. And of course, we don't want to see any activity like that. period. In reference to these, there's a lot of bills that are coming out right now that build upon the work that they've done around opiates in the House and the Senate. And some of the bills are solid, and some of them leave room for questioning. I think the bill for 296 is fairly solid because it just, again, looking at access and availability. But there's another one that I failed to put in here, but I just want to mention it briefly, and that's House Bill 141, which expands involuntary manslaughter to causing or contributing to the death of an individual. If somebody gives a person drugs or sells a person drugs and they end up dying because of it. The problem with this bill, while it seems like a good thing to do, the problem of it is it tackles things again at the judiciary or the law enforcement level instead of looking at really what is the cause of the use of drugs. And we need to spend more time looking at the demand supplies of things rather than the supply side of things. In some cases, the nuances will be if a friend sees another friend struggling because they are in withdrawal and they need help, and they give them or share some of their drugs with them, not out of malice or not out of making money, but just to help their friend, and their friend ends up dying, then they can spend up to 20 years in prison, whereas that individual really needs to be into recovery and rehab. And so we need to take a very close look at that bill and see if that really makes any sense for what we're trying to accomplish here. We need to start looking at getting away from punishing people and look at figuring out how we can make people well again. So just a piece on that one. The next bill that's floating out there around the substance abuse portion of our legislature at this time here in the state of Ohio it's House Bill 427, and there's a lot of various things in this particular bill. What they're requiring now in this bill is for the Department of Health to publish monthly drug overdose death information by counties, and that's going to be important to start to capture the information that's really of what's happening out there. We think that there's actually a higher death rate going on now due to drug overdoses than may even be reported, because there's other things going on that death might be attributed to rather than to the drug overdose. So they're trying to get a good handle on that. And so there's a lot of things in that bill that will require them to look at how we capture that information, how we post that information, how we use that information to help us in this epidemic. The second piece of this bill is to create grant programs. And so I encourage you to kind of take a look at and follow whether this bill passes, because there'll be some grant opportunities to support faith-based substance abuse services within communities. So in the faith space, the grants that would be put out there will be overseen by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. The faith-based, there's 3 of them. The faith-based substance abuse curricula, where there's actually where you basically kind of a prevention sort of piece where you can come in and try to keep people from getting involved and caught up into the substance abuse problem. And then there's the second one is faith-based substance abuse transportation, and that is to help people who are in recovery or who are seeking treatment, who need transportation, where faith-based organizations can help them meet that goal to get to their places of treatment and recovery timely and consistently. So that's another grant opportunity that will be out there. And then the third one for the faith-based is substance abuse rehabilitation facility, as it's stated in the legislation. And that is where they actually, faith organizations actually do treatment and rehabilitation services for an individual seeking or in recovery. This particular bill has been was introduced just at the end of November, and now has been referred to the Community and Family Advancement Committee just the first week of December. So we'll be watching this bill closely as well. And again, if this is something in your community where you have faith-based that's involved, this will be some things to augment their resources. The next one, and probably the biggest one right now, as I indicated, is that in the weekly update is the legislature is slowing down for the month. There's still things going on, but the House will be out of session on Thursday, tentatively. They're planning to be their last session for winter break on December 14th, so that's Thursday. And the Senate's going to stay in until December 19th, which is Monday. So they're wrapping up as much as they can before then, and then they'll be going on break. So we'll be continuing to follow, but in the weeks ahead, things will probably be very, very quiet. The other piece that we want to talk about is our ongoing piece with the Medical Marijuana Control Program, which was House Bill 523. It legalized marijuana on September 8th, 2016, and on September 8th, 2018, it has to be fully operational. And I included in here the level 2 has individuals have been identified. So what counties, you can be able to see from this slide what counties, what the companies are, and what counties will have a large grow cultivation site in their counties. The dispensaries are still being looked at now. There's been 370 dispensary applications received by the state of Ohio. There's only 60 slots open, so they'll be going through the testing and the evaluation piece to see who will be awarded those licenses. Additionally, processors are being looked at. There'll be 40 processors in the state of Ohio. Their applications are due to be into the state of Ohio by December 15th. So that process is continuing on, as well as the testing sites will be still looking at those. We have two. Initially, we had two. They wanted the testing sites to be basically associated with colleges or universities or public institutions of that nature. Only two came forward, which was Central State and Hawking State University. So they've now decided to open it up to private individuals too. So that call went out to receive applications from private individuals as well. So they will be looking at those in the coming weeks. Medical marijuana control program has hit its controversy has erupted in that. We, along the way, we knew this was going to happen. It isn't a surprise to anybody that sits on the Medical Marijuana Advisory Commission or committee, as that this is just a group that tends to want to follow their rules and maybe not every rule that's out there. One of the individuals, Can Ascend Ohio, failed to win a state license, and they're not at all happy about that. And so they immediately started in with the twofold front on how to approach the fact that they didn't get it. They found that one of the individuals who serves as the evaluator to the process of seeing who gets the licenses actually had a drug conviction back in Pennsylvania in the year 2005. At that time, that individual was a 20-year-old individual who just got caught for, doing what an illegal substance of marijuana at that time. And he actually is now considered an expert and is on that board. Well, there's a lot of controversy around the fact that he was this group that did not get their license approved or get a license. They decided that that was enough reason to feel that the system was rigged and that it wasn't fair to all individuals. However, the state of Ohio has come back and said that there was a very rigorous process and that 20 people actually had equal evaluations for every different application that came in, equal influence, that one person could not have, trumped or tainted the process. They also feel that anybody who feels that they were unfairly adjudged, they can appeal the process if they want to do it. But this particular group has decided to just make a big thing about it, and a lot of people have joined in the chorus on this. Candidates and officials have voiced their concerns about it, including basically people who are running for office that are doing it. Candidate for the Attorney General's office, Auditor Dave Yost, and his opponent, Stephen Dettelbach, who I'm not sure I pronounced his name correctly, but they both have called for investigations and that the entire process stop and be reevaluated before it moves forward. Now, again, in legislation, it's due to happen on September 8th of next year, so the process has to keep moving, and it'll be very difficult to stop it. But Mary Taylor, Lieutenant Governor, who's running for governor, she has also called for a halt and an investigation of the process, as well as State Representative Larry Householder, who I believe is going to be looking to run for Speaker of the House. And then, of course, a governor candidate from Dayton, Ohio, Mayor Nan Whaley, is also did not call for an investigation, but she called it a misstep and a disappointment to what was happening. So the state of Ohio is not deterred by this. They're moving forward. They feel like they've done and run a very significant process in it. They have done a completely blind process in this. So there were two groups that looked at the applications. One was a completely blind process, so they had no idea who the applicant was, where they were going to be located, and to where they were from, or where these individuals had who they were or anything about their company. Totally blind. They went it on the merit of the applications alone. Now, a second group looked at this, and they looked at it from the aspect of they knew who the companies and the businesses were, because they wanted to make sure there was a reputable business that was applying, one that paid their taxes, didn't have anything in the arrears, didn't have any questionable business practices in their past, ones that really ran a clean and upstanding sort of business. So both angles were approached, and that process was put together to come up with the process in which they do it. Many people along the way, in fact, one of the individuals, companies that applied for the state of Ohio, who's applied in other states as well, indicated he thought this was the most fair and well-run system that he's ever seen. So again, controversy erupts. We'll see how it plays out over the next few weeks. And hopefully, as I said, things will be moving along. I sit on the Medical Marijuana Advisory Committee, and that committee meets again this Thursday. So on this Thursday, I'll have more firsthand knowledge and updates about how things are moving forward. But one of the things that we want to also mention as far as that just came out yesterday is that this group not only is looking to cause controversy around the fact that they feel like this person who had the drug conviction is problematic and should halt the process. This group has also decided that it needs to and has announced that they're going to go for a 2018 ballot for a renewed effort to legalize marijuana in the state of Ohio. This company is comprised, and its principals are the same people who held the Responsible Ohio, which put out the last ballot initiative that was soundly defeated in 2015 in the state of Ohio. And now they feel like they're coming back again, I think in retaliation to a certain extent for the fact that they didn't get a license. I think I'm pretty confident in saying had they gotten a license, we wouldn't be seeing this, but we'll see. Their concept about this new one is that it will take place next year. They're going to start collecting signatures. I think they need, I think in January they're going to start collecting signatures. They need almost 306,000 valid signatures by July 4th to get it on the November ballot. They're looking to create a completely free market for marijuana production. So that means anybody can grow and sell marijuana. They're looking at home grows as well as people that want to get into the industry. So if this should happen to pass, and I think we're going to, at least from our angle, do everything that we can to educate the public that this isn't a good idea for recreational marijuana in the state of Ohio. our particular market will just be flooded. Not only will we have it because they want to keep the medical marijuana process in place, which is a very controlled, very great way of growing marijuana too. It's just wide open and anybody can grow it anywhere at any time. Of course, still allowing for communities to opt out if they want to. They want to, so let's see here. They want it to bar public consumption, which is good. They will allow landlords to not, forbid it if in their particular properties if they wish to do that. And businesses can maintain their drug-free workplaces, which is, still a good thing. But the problem of it is then it just floods the market, normalizes marijuana, and it will be available to everybody at any time. And because it will be such a flood of marijuana on the market, I'm not sure anybody's going to be making money from it, because at that point the price comes down and the black market will flourish just as well. When it's out there that much, you can always buy it on the black market much cheaper than you can do through a legal source. So we'll see how that plays out in the next few months. Keep your eye on that, but know that that's about to descend upon us again. So we need to keep our advocacy efforts up. We need to continue to educate about marijuana, why it's important that we not normalize it in our society, especially for our youth, and what we know about youth and the brain and the damage it can cause to our young people. And then what it does to the highways and the freeways with people driving and how it can impact the workplace. There's just many caveats to this that are probably not what we want in the state of Ohio. We'll keep you posted. Then the last thing that I want to talk about and just bring to your attention is that the Liquor Control Commission has put out every year at 4 times a year, they have to do quarterly updates about what's going on, and they review things. And what I have put in the slide today for you just to look at is the different things that they will be reviewing in the coming years in 2018. Many times there are things about this, and we'll try to keep you up to date on this, because a lot of times there will be people from the industry or from people who are retailers or distributors of alcohol and liquor that come in and want the rules changed and updated. And sometimes those updates aren't beneficial to us in the state of Ohio. So we're going to try to keep a closer track on it, let you know when these things are happening. Anybody can attend these commissions that want to do that, and we encourage you to do it. The next one is on, why did I put that? I just lost it. But I believe it's this coming Wednesday, that's tomorrow. And it's at 10 o'clock at the Rice Center on the 19th floor. So feel free to, if anything captures your attention and you just want to stay informed, you want to get an idea of what happens around the Liquor Control Commission, please feel free to go down there and just listen in or make your voice be heard on anything that you feel is a problem. In the states now, we've really taken a look at things where marijuana seems to control a little bit of our focus and our time and attention, and certainly the opiates continue to do that. But we can never fail to remember that alcohol is probably one of those drugs in our communities that cause the most havoc, certainly among our children. So we can't keep our eye off the ball. We got to keep a look at all of those and make sure that we're keeping the rules, the regulations, and what's happening in our legislature to make sure that we continue to track those things that are problematic for our communities. And with that, that's about all I have at this point. Nathan, we have any questions at this point?
No, we don't have any questions right now, Marcie. With that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, unless you have something you want to add.
No, other than I would like to say to everybody, happy holidays to you. Like I said, we'll stay on top of what's happening through the end of December, although we expect it to be somewhat downplayed a little bit until the new year comes along. But again, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your interest in being involved in this. We appreciate everything that you do in your community, because together we can make a huge difference in what happens in the state of Ohio. And so we thank you and wish you a great day.